Hello, welcome to Cardboard and Plastic. Today's video, I got a card in the mail and I want to go over eye appeal. It's been a conversation that a lot of people have been talking about the last couple of months, specifically on YouTube and on forums. And a lot of people, right, they get into vintage and they hear like centering, right? So that's all they say, like, oh, I just need a centered card. Or like, I want a card with sharp corners, right? So I'm going to tell you what I believe, and probably, I think 90% of you will agree with me, what is the best eye appeal. In the background, I didn't finish the label for my Paul Goldschmidt, the Topps update. That card, and really it's not a rookie card, right? It's a parallel of his base rookie card. However, I got that card less than what a PSA 10 of his base, and I don't even want to know how many of his base rookie cards are out there. I mean, there's 2011 of that card, right? It's numbered. There are so many of his base, right? And I could go and buy one of his base, and they're almost all of them look like they came right out of a pack. So I have no interest in even buying the base of his rookie card. And I buy the majority of my cards from eBay, from COMC, from forums, right? That's where I really look. I don't get involved in the auction houses. I don't want to start looking through those. The buyer premiums for me, like, it just doesn't make sense. I'm going to stay away from those. And a lot of those auctions I see, right, from Heritage and things, I don't know if they're being shilled or just people get way too competitive over those cards. Like, eBay for me is fine. Like, they even have some pretty big cards on eBay. So, but I always follow things, right, on COMC to see if people lower prices, give sale prices. And on eBay, there was a card for $60 in an auction with a base price, right? And it didn't sell. And then the seller, it was a brand new seller, never sold anything before. And then the seller put it for $60, buy it now. And I almost bought it at the auction. And then I just said, okay, well, I already have the card. I'm just going to watch it. And then I got an offer for $40. So I bought it. So now I have two. And I'll go into like doubles and like why I collect multiples of cards. And, you know, for the price, I couldn't beat $40 for this card. I think it was like 46 with shipping from a brand new seller. They shipped it out quickly. I did send a message to them. They only put the card in a penny sleeve and then in a top loader, and they sandwich it between cardboard, but the card was loose, and when I took it out, it was actually sticking out of the top loader. Just use a piece of painter's tape if you don't have like a team bag or something like that. But fortunately, it didn't get damaged. They listed this card as being very good. Brand new seller, they think it probably scared away people. Like, I don't know. I looked underneath a loop at this card. There's nothing wrong. The worst thing is that corner there. That doesn't make it a 3. But beautiful card. And I will buy multiples of cards for the right price. By the way, I have a really big Paul Goldschmidt card, and hopefully I get it back from COMC pretty soon. So, eye appeal. It's been driving me crazy hearing about eye appeal recently. I think eye appeal is a very simple thing. Eye appeal is the card has to, number one, have good registration, right? And I don't care if people even say like, well, no, centering's the most important thing. No, it's not. Even people that say centering is the most important thing, if you have a card that looks like crap or has paper loss in the front, even though it's perfectly centered, the card's still going to look like crap, right? And also with grading, I mean, just because a card has a high grade, if it has poor registration and a high grade, it's just a high graded piece of crap, right? So this is always like, and I actually changed my collecting, right, from the beginning to now, especially with vintage. In the beginning for vintage, I was looking for crispy cards, right, to grade. And I wanted sharp corners. And I kind of switched over a little bit into centering. However, one thing has remained constant. It didn't matter if the cards were sharp or well centered. The vast majority of cards in my collection have great registration. And the cards that I want to get rid of have poor registration. It's that simple, right? So I usually typically grade cards, right? I buy raw to grade, but these are cards that I saw for great prices, in my opinion, and I just had to pick up. This was, I think I got it for about $50. And, you know, it's well centered, but it's just the color of the card, the registration, right? Kind of just draws you in, right? Even if it's not perfectly centered, cards like this are what I look for. Now, I already had one, and I bought it, and then I always go on eBay, and if I see something for a great price, I pick it up. And I saw this card for $20, buy it now. So I bought it then. And I didn't, sometimes I watch or I'll send an offer in. This one I just bought. However, I took a risk, right? It's a 3.5. They have surface wrinkles somewhere. Where is it, right? That's the question. Get it in the hand. It doesn't matter where it is because it's not on his face, right? It is right up there, right, for the surface wrinkle. But you don't see it, right? The color is vibrant, right? And you're drawn to the specific places of a card, right? If I got that and it was a wrinkle through the face, I would probably just go ahead and sell that card and get rid of it. And I've also been hearing a lot of people saying like, oh, well, I'm only going to look for low graded cards, right, with high eye appeal, right, because that's the best value. I don't have, like, I don't have any specific thing that I'm looking for besides just the card, right? I will look at any grade. I will look at any holder. I will look at graded cards, raw cards, everything. And this is one card. I had it before in a 7. Actually, I've had like 5 of this card in like a 7 or a 7.5 or a 6.5 from SGC, CGC, PSA. And I just wasn't happy with any of them, right? They all had something I didn't like. Then I got this, right? And it's an 8, right? It's not the best value grade. However, that card, it has the registration. It's beautiful for me. I don't need to upgrade it. That is it, right? Of course, if I see another one, I'll get one at a good price. But that card, if I was just saying, oh, well, I'm not going to overspend, I'm going to look at 7s, I would have missed out on that card. That card I got for $200 on COMC. And that card's, I mean, I could sell it right now for $350, but I'm not because that's the card I want. It has the beautiful image. In the centering, like you're going to say, oh, it's a little crooked. They're all a little crooked, those 1979 Ozzie Smiths. So I'm just going to go through a few more cards. And, you know, I treat things differently. In, like, the Warren Spahn, I've been looking for the 1958 Warren Spahn. Pretty iconic card looking-wise, right? It's like the green, and he's there with his follow-through. And that card If it's off-centered and there's print defects on it, it just looks gross. And I haven't found a copy that I liked, right? And so it's been very difficult for me to find that card. So I keep on looking, but there hasn't been one that has the registration and the centering that I like. This card I got, and it's a beautiful, it's those deep colors, right? The reds, the greens, the in-focus image, right? This is what I'm looking for in a card. It's the registration, right? It has the pretty close to perfect centering, right? But it's really the image. And I do have cards that are off-centered that are in my collection that I love just as much as the center ones, right? It all depends on how the card looks. And I mean, there's cards like this, right, for the 60s. I treat the 60s and the 70s different than the 50s, right? I don't want my 1962 Topps cards having rounded corners, right? Even like my Hank Aaron, it's not perfectly centered, but it's sharp, right? With beautiful color registration, right? That's what I'm looking for. Now, when it comes to a lot of these cards, like no card is going to be perfect. And if it is, you're going to pay a lot of money for it. So you just got to get the nicest card that you can. I looked and I really wanted a Frank Robinson rookie. And the one thing that drives me crazy about his rookie card is, you know, the centering is hard to find centered, but also the snowing on the card, the print defects, right? They're pretty common. So you can't get the perfect card. But for me, right, this, I saw it and I said, this is good. This is what I want. It's a sharp image. It has a damaged corner there, but it presents very well. By the way, I gotta get rid of this. By the way, it's a real card. It's got the void, right? So if I take this sticker off, it's not going to be a real card anymore. But that is what I was looking for, right? But I'm patient too. I wasn't going to pay a $5 price for that card with a corner like that. So just the patience of collecting is something that I do have, and I just will buy just things not on my radar. I had this card in a 7, and I got this card. I got it from ComC for $30, like $35. I graded it for 15, and an absolute beauty for the Bob Feller 1952. And I love this set, right? I got a couple of other cards I'll show from this set, but with this card, it's not perfect, but it's much better than the 7 I had. I had a 7 old label, and there was a disgusting, like, little print defect on it. However, when you bring the card in, and when you see it, like, it's going to be very obvious. Oh, look at right in the middle of his forehead, right? There's that print defect, right? A little fisheye. However, the color of this card is so bold, so beautiful, that when I actually just have it and just look at it, even though you know that there's a print defect there, right? Your eye is not drawn to that print defect. It's drawn to that beautiful card. And that is why registration, it can make up for bad corners. It can make up for print defects. It can even make up for creases or surface wrinkles. I brought out some of my 52s. Here's another one. This one I bought. I just saw this on Net54. Great price. I was just like, I'm picking that one up. Now here's one, and the most disgusting part of this card is the actual holder it's in. not because it's a CSG or CGC old holder. They put it in that stupid plastic bag, right? However, this card's a 2. This card, the color is gorgeous, and there are surface wrinkles, right? I could hold this at the angle. You can see it there, right? There's one there, right? It deserves a grade of 2. Technically, they have this card right. However, the color, the dark blue, where those surface wrinkles are, it takes nothing away from this card. What takes away from the card is they put it in that stupid plastic baggie. I will be cracking this out. I will be sending that to SGC eventually. It's just not a necessity for me right now. But those deep colors, the registration, it can hide some of those flaws that you have. And also, too, for centering. It can hide the centering, in my opinion. Like this card, a beautiful 52, old label, right? But this card, the colors, the registration, it's fantastic, right? I don't need a better 52 tops than that. Now, got a little jealous. I saw John Mangini with his Gaudi Joe DiMaggio, and it's one of those things that it's just sometimes having a card is good enough, right? So with the card that he had, it was a 2, but it presented beautifully. It's a dream card for most of us. And if you want that card in a 7, I mean, you got to take out a second mortgage on your house. So I have a Joe DiMaggio, and it's the only one that I have, but I definitely want the Gaudi. I want the 40 play ball, right? All of them. I want all the Joe DiMaggios. And this is the one I have, right? And this card, for me, is perfect. I thought it was going to get an authentic. I bought this raw, right? So I bought this, and Beckett wouldn't grade it. And the person was very upfront, right? Beckett just wouldn't grade it. And it's real. I knew it was real. You handled cards. You can actually take a look at the printing. Very important if you get into the hobby, just to handle raw cards. I mean, it's super important. But somebody wrote, if you can kind of see, I don't know what they wrote, but they tried to write something there. Beckett didn't like it. They tried to erase it. And so Beckett wouldn't grade this card. And I actually, I'm glad they didn't slab it. I sent it to CGC to have it slabbed, and they didn't want to grade it either. Actually, kind of funny that Andy Broom that works there, he used to work for Beckett, right? So they have very similar for the BVG. So kind of like the same probably mentality there. They didn't want to grade the card, give a card a grade because of that eraser mark. So I sent this to SGC, and I just said, okay, I had no problem if it was going to be authentic, just put it in a slab, but they gave it a 1. And maybe Mookie can do some detective work for me. I don't know, like they wrote VHD, BA, right, batting average, I don't know. They wrote a little C right there. What does this say? Like 355? I have no idea. But it has writing on the back. I got this card for a little bit over $400. It's not leaving my collection. That's all I want in a card like that, right? It has the color, has the image, you know, rounded corners, off-centered. Who cares? It's a 41 Joe DiMaggio. And I really think, like, a lot of us in this hobby, especially if you're new into the hobby, just be very careful when people say, like, centering is the most important thing, right? You got to have a sharp card. You have to have high grades. Really, it's how the card presents. But you just got to be a little careful, right? If there's a card that's a 2 or a 3, and it looks beautiful from an image, and people just like they doctor cards, they'll doctor images to try to sell cards on eBay, right? So always, you're taking a little bit of a risk. That's why if you buy a big card, right, unless you get a great deal on it, I really suggest you buy the card in person, look it over, just underneath a little bit of light. And even if you see a wrinkle, who cares? Does that wrinkle detract from how beautiful that card is, all right? And that's what we're buying, right? That piece of cardboard. But we want the beautiful images. So, this is kind of my collection, and that I'm just going through my collection. I'm just looking at the cards, and I just look at the card, and it either looks good to me or it doesn't. And if it doesn't look good to me, typically like it has like snow on it. It has like a really like 5 or 6 like fish eyes, or it has an image that's not in focus, right? Those are the things that I care about. So hopefully I get that big Paul Goldschmidt card back in a few weeks to make a video about that. Kind of a little disappointed with his start, even though he's hitting close to 400. He's a little bit of the pop is gone. Only 1 home run and 3 doubles and just a lot of singles. So in the comments below, if you're a centering person, did I sway you just a little bit? So as always, have a great day. Keep on collecting.